Whoa! I never thought about that!
You know the feeling, right? You can ask an AI pretty much anything. Write a story about a pirate who's afraid of water. Explain quantum physics like I'm 5. Create an image of a cat DJing in space. And boom, almost instantly, it delivers. It really does feel like magic. But what is actually going on inside that black box? Let's find out.
First things first. When you type in a sentence, how does a piece of software, a machine, even begin to understand what you're asking for?
And that, of course, leads to the really big question, the one that's on everyone's mind. Is it actually thinking? Is there a conscious mind in there processing your request? And maybe the most mind-bending part of all of this, how does it generate a brand new image or a new piece of text seemingly out of thin air? Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain.
Okay, so the first thing we need to get our heads around is that the AI magic trick isn't what most of us think it is. It's not about a thinking machine. It's about something much more, well, mathematical.
At its absolute core, artificial intelligence isn't about knowing or understanding in the way a human does. Nope. It's a system designed to do one thing exceptionally well: recognize patterns in huge amounts of data, and then use those patterns to make really, really good predictions.
And this right here gets to the heart of the biggest misconception. We all tend to imagine this sci-fi robot brain, right? A conscious entity. But the reality is far less Hollywood and a lot more about math. What we're really dealing with is an incredibly sophisticated pattern prediction system.
Okay, so if it's a prediction system, what's a good way to wrap our heads around that? Well, there's a fantastic analogy that really nails the core idea of how these things work. This is such a simple but powerful way to think about it. You know how your phone suggests the next word when you're texting? AI is doing the exact same thing, just on a massive, almost cosmic scale. It's constantly predicting the next most likely word, or the next sentence, or even the next pixel in an image.
So, where does this predictive superpower come from? Well, it's trained on an unbelievable amount of data. We're talking a huge portion of the internet, millions of books, images, and videos. But here's the crucial part. It's not memorizing any of this. Instead, it's learning the connections, the relationships between words, and the hidden structures that make up our world.
So how does all of this come together to actually form an answer? Let's follow the journey of your question from the very moment you hit enter.
It really happens in 3 main stages. First, the AI has to process what you've typed. Then, it has to match that input against all the patterns it's learned. And finally, its prediction engine gets to work to generate the response.
The very first step is translation. You see, an AI doesn't understand words the way we do. It understands math, so it has to convert your sentence into numbers. It breaks everything down into little pieces called tokens. Sometimes they're whole words, sometimes just parts, and it gives each one a numerical value. This is how our language becomes something a machine can work with.
So once your prompt is turned into a sequence of numbers, the AI matches those against the countless patterns it notes. Then comes the final and most crucial step. The answer isn't just pulled from some database. It's actually built, one single word at a time. Based on your prompt and the words it's already written, the AI calculates the probability for what the very next word should be. It picks the most likely one, adds it to the sentence, and then it does the whole process over again and again, building a coherent response.
And what's the engine running all of this incredible calculation? It's something called a neural network. It's an architecture that's actually inspired by the human brain, built with layers of digital neurons. You can think of it like a team of specialists. The first layer might spot basic shapes, the next might identify textures, and so on, with each layer passing its findings onto the next. This layered system is what allows the AI to recognize incredibly complex patterns.
So that's how AI handles text, by predicting the next most likely word. But what about images? How does it create a picture? The principle is surprisingly similar, but the process is where things get even more fascinating. It's about creating something totally new from just a description.
So let's ask a really specific question. You type in a flying dragon in space. Now the AI has almost certainly never seen that exact image before. So how does it create it without just, cutting and pasting from pictures it was trained on?
It uses a process called diffusion. First, it breaks down your prompt into core concepts. So dragon is associated with patterns like wings and scales. Space is associated with stars and darkness. Then, and this is the incredible part, it doesn't start with a blank canvas. It starts with a field of pure random noise, like old TV static. And from that chaos, it begins a process of refinement. Step by step, it nudges the pixels, slowly removing the noise and guiding the image towards the patterns it identified from your prompt. until a clear image of a dragon in space just emerges. This is why AI can create completely original art. It isn't copying, it's interpreting ideas.
Now, with all this incredible capability, it is so easy to get carried away. And that's why this final section is so important. It's time for a crucial reality check.
Let's be perfectly clear. AI is an absolutely incredible pattern matcher. It's a probability engine, a data processor, and a prediction tool. But what is it not? It is not a thinker. It is not conscious or self-aware. It doesn't feel emotions, and it doesn't truly understand the meaning behind the words it's processing. It is simply and brilliantly reflecting the patterns that it learned from us.
And this is the single most important thing to remember the next time you use an AI. You are not having a conversation with a mind. You are interacting with a statistical mirror, one that reflects the vast patterns of human language and imagery it was trained on. It's not magic, it's math. And understanding that is the key to unlocking its true potential.
And that's just one tiny big question. Imagine what's next, subscribe, and let's keep wondering.